Welcome to another episode in the KIPS podcast. Going to be talking about YouTube again. YouTube is one of my favorite topics. If you don't know, if you're a fan of the KIPS podcast, and with this episode, this has been a topic that's been brewing in my head. Talked about it a little bit with the episode with Michelle Breeler, but I brought on one of my good friends in the YouTube realm, Joe Alvarado. He's got his own podcast that I want to make sure that we shout it out. The Afterburn. If you're a cycling instructor, make sure you check it out and make sure you subscribe to his channel. But Joe, as always, thank you for coming on again.
Hey man, it's a pleasure, Tyler. We're friends, man, and we could do this every week if we wanted to, man. Oh yeah, I appreciate you having me. Of course.
And the joke that I'll share with the audience that we're at 30 minutes in terms of like our Zoom call. 30 minutes of probably just all talking about YouTube. That's literally what we were doing, and so many times in just catching up, we're like, oh man, that's such a good piece that we should have shared for the episode or should have hit record already. And I think that is a sign of not only our friendship, but also that we're going to share some good tips that hopefully our listeners get some value from. But before we kick it off, Joe, can you share a little bit about yourself, what you're doing now, what you're doing with your channels, and where you work as a fitness instructor?
Yeah, absolutely. I am the studio leader at Lifetime and Centennial, and that basically means I oversee all of the large group classes and small group classes. Large group meaning anywhere from 15 to 50 people in a class. Small group anywhere from 15 and below. We have about 168 classes on our schedule and about 48 instructors. So that is my department to oversee. I teach 5 of the classes as well. I coach a few of the small group classes and also teach indoor cycling, which is my passion. Get to do a couple of live classes a week. Also have my indoor cycling channel, JA Cycle, and absolutely, share your passion with YouTube. I love to record and put out content and interact with people who are looking for ways to stay fit and continuing to dial in how well we present that in the quality of product that we have out there. So those are the two things that I'm up to now. Also pastor a small church, and then I have another YouTube channel called Live Bold, and I do a few reaction videos to just faith-based type stuff. So love it. That's what I do. Yeah.
And where are you at right now with your cycling channel with subscribers?
I'm just on the verge of 5,000, man. I'm at 4,977 or something like that. I'm like, oh, just a few more. So if you're listening and you're not subscribed, help me get there.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh, and I can tell you, as I am one of the subscribers and one of the individuals that tunes in for weekly rides with you, they're great. I think that when we'll talk about this, your on-screen personality has been something that has been such a consistent factor with how you are presenting yourself as a fit pro, how you're motivating, and how you let yourself come through in terms of your personality comes through in each workout. I think that is one of the big things that I know it's one of the questions I put down that we'll talk about with your coaching personality, but that is definitely one of the big positives of your channel. That's one of my favorite aspects.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that too. I have, I'm fortunate because I grew up in the church, and early on we started using Facebook and we started using YouTube and stuff. So I was in front of a camera a lot longer than on a bike in front of a camera rather. And so I like the camera, man. I think the camera is fun to be in front of. And so we'll definitely talk about that for sure.
Let's talk about that actually right now with the differences with talking. And I mean, this has to do with public speaking. And I feel like that is such a big piece of being a fit pro. And I know that personal trainers going from personal training to group fitness, sometimes they have a block right there, but now going from maybe teaching group fitness to teaching online, what are any changes that you make with your coaching style? Have you uncovered any of those, or do you feel like there's a lot of barriers that going from, live audience to now teaching to camera?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I try to deliver consistent energy for both. From once in a while, being in a room alone can be feel like you're manufacturing something versus having, 20, 30, 40 people in a room. And the reaction that you're able to give when you see somebody say something or holler something is quite different than not hearing that at all in front of a camera. But the same delivery, I think in a lot of ways, being in front of the camera in a room alone has helped me rather over the past 4 or 5 years that I've done this, dial in really specific cueing, really specific. So the energy, like I feel like my energy is always pretty consistent. And I appreciate you saying that earlier, pretty consistent, because it's just, I get a smile on my face when I get to be on a bike and do a workout. Just that alone is fun for me. But just so the energy is consistent, but I feel like the cueing and the descriptive terms and how things should feel and look and posture is even better on camera, I think, because I have to make sure that every person, regardless of where they're at, in a hotel, in their basement, and at a club, just watching me on a monitor, on an iPad, on a phone, that they get what I'm saying, And so, but again, when you're live, you could feel the energy. You can get around. You could talk to people. You can get, I like to be really social, and so in the live context, I think even if you're having like an off day, and you're walking to class and you're not quite feeling it, whether that be sleep depressed, didn't get enough of sleep or something's going on in life, you see a few people walk in and then a few people more, and you're like, all right. And then you see that one new person walk in and you're like, like for every fitness instructor out there, I think we would all agree that when you have the new person come into your class, it's like doing it for the first time all over again, because you get to give them a class that they've never taken before, right? And I think that's what I've tried to also remember when I'm recording in front of a camera. Like, I don't know when a new person will take my class who's never been on a bike before, and they're just trying something new, but I want to deliver something that makes sense to them, that puts a smile on their face, where they're not only a little entertained, but they get something that's meaningful out of the workout. So, yeah.
Really good point there. And I agree with the sharpness of it. I know that I don't teach live that often, but it was last year I did teach live, and I felt like there wasn't this buildup for it for me. My rhythm, I feel like my rhythm was already there, that I was able to just step into it, and I knew all my cues. I had them down, my usual cues. In the past, when I had either taken a break from teaching live or whatever might have come up, there was almost like a buildup for me. It took maybe 3 sessions to, why didn't I say that? I always say whatever it is when I'm teaching a squat or I'm teaching an exercise, and I would miss those. And it took me some time to get that under my belt. But with filming, you are constantly thinking and adjusting. And for me, my adjustments are looking at my playback monitor. I have 2 monitors that I'm looking, making sure my footing, making sure that whatever it is that is in frame, or whatever I'm trying to emphasize is in frame, and all that kind of good stuff, that hopefully, just how you said, I like that a lot, about if there's somebody new watching me, making sure that they understand what I'm saying, and that I'm not just glossing over it. Sometimes as a Fit Pro, I'll admit it, sometimes you get a little lazy when you're teaching the same peeps. Sometimes, you already know what to do, peep, come on. But with that live, hopefully you know that there might be one new person watching you. Yes. And hopefully that they catch it, whatever you're trying to give them, and they say, oh, wow, this is such a great workout. I want to subscribe. I want to come back for that next one. I really like that.
Well, one of the cool elements that you have on your workouts is that you put a little slide there of what the workout is, and we don't get that live, man. You don't get that when you got to explain that stuff when you're teaching a live class, right? You got to say, here's where we're headed, here's what's going to happen, and the benefit. One of the huge benefits of doing the video version of YouTube is that you put that on there, and I get to see it. I get to see it in front of me. I got a timeline, right? I see if there's what's coming in front of me. So you do that really well on your workouts too, man. It's so good.
And that's been a evolution, and it's actually a good little segue for us to talk about the next piece here with the voice of your channel and nailing down your audience. And I'll admit to people listening to this episode that I didn't at first understand that. I didn't understand the concept of trying to, in your mind, imagine the ideal viewer or who is your audience, because I mean, as a Fit Pro, and this is, I think, an example that I recently gave or I wrote down somewhere, that if you're teaching live, and I'm not saying this is everywhere, but most times you're teaching at popular times when people are off work and they're able to come in. And so the audience, they're going to come to those popular times, and there's going to be an assortment of audience members, demographics. But with online, with YouTube, there is that your niche, who your audience is, who is that ideal member that you could speak to them in a way that, oh, this resonates with me. And it took me a while to really think about it more and hopefully change what how I hopefully hook them in that beginning sequence and what I'm saying with my language in terms of my coaching, those pieces for yourself. What was that process like with your cycling and kind of getting that coaching voice of your channel? What was that process like for you?
Well, at first, I was just doing whatever, let me just put some content out there. Let me do what I know. Let me be who I am, and not that that's changed drastically or anything like that, but you start to look into the analytics. You start to look into the peak times when people are online, and YouTube tells you a lot of that, like your demographics, what countries people are watching from, when are the peak times. And so I started paying attention to that, because if I'm honest, like I don't like numbers and I don't like analytics. Like I just want to do fun stuff, you know what I mean? And it's funny because I'm very numbers driven and information driven when I'm delivering a class, because you've seen my my classes. I have a countdown timer, and I have the title, and I have what block we're in, and I have what we're doing, and how it should feel. So there's all this information, right? And so it's like an information driven class, but then I don't want to look at the analytics. Like, I don't want to see that I just want to feel it, right? It's just weird. I'm weird like that. But when I started paying attention to it, I noticed that I had about an even split of men and women, like 50-50 as far as who was watching the channel, who were return viewers. And then the age group was like 35 to 55 is where I was at, you know? And so there's that spread of age group, that's watching it. And so, and then you take that information and then you take the feedback, oh, I like this, or I like that, or, I really appreciate the timers. Oh, can you make the clock a little bit bigger? Oh, can you do more 80s rides? Oh, can you, can you not talk so much, like, the music was horrible. You take the feedback and we all, we have to sort it out. Like sometimes it's just feedback that is some random person that just wants to be mean, and they'll probably never return. You gotta know the difference. But there are some feedback that really is super valuable. I mean, the majority of feedback is valuable, and you can even build your brand based off of feedbacks, like what you do based off of feedbacks. Like I think of Kaylee's channel and their dog, right? Like the dog just wandered into a ride one day. And now the dog's a staple on the channel. You know what I mean? It's like
Stella,
Stella. Yeah. You find that. And one of the things that I used to do in my live classes when I would stretch at the end, and I would say, and reach up and pull down and squeeze the guns. Like I would say that. And like, now that's a thing. I even have a shirt on my shop that's called Squeeze the Guns, because everybody loves when I do that at the end. And so you dial in, what based off of feedback, based off of analytics, based off of comments, and you fine tune what your audience is without changing who you are. That's the key there too. We all have to be authentic, right? We all have to deliver a quality product. But we do have to adjust with what people are wanting, what they're asking for, and know how to, sift out the stuff that wasn't meant for that, but just to be a little hurtful every now and then, right?
Oh yeah. I'll admit it. Whenever I see a negative comment on any of the channels that I operate, it's an immediate block and remove. And for me, I put it out there because there are so many pieces to worry about as a YouTuber that letting somebody that just wants to be hateful, it's not worth your time. There's so many more ways to spend your mental capacity to be able to learn more about YouTube, because it is a constant journey that we will talk about in this episode. But I am so quick. I will block and remove your comment so quickly that it's like it was never even there.
Yeah. No, and it's healthy just to keep that negativity out of the way, so it doesn't stop us, and again, it's just knowing the difference between something that's constructive and something that's just hurtful, and that's totally what we've got to do, man, to
100%
continue to move forward, for sure.
Oh yeah. And to piggyback off what you're saying about the feedback from viewers, I have noticed as well, and I'm sure that I know that we have some shared audience with our YouTube channels, that they notice every change or upgrade that you make.
Yes.
And they notice these things. And I mentioned this because it is, if you are getting into YouTube or you're already on YouTube and you're starting off and you're thinking, oh man, is this going to work? Or I already have a good space, or I already have a good workout. Anytime that you do something different, they will notice and they will compliment you on it.
Yes.
And that is all worth it in my book. That extra time for me, it was on one of my recent changes. I made a progress bar on the side of my workout instead of the timer.
Love that.
They immediately pointed it out. Oh, Tyler, I love how you changed and made that progress bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I didn't know people would notice it. And they notice it, and they notice your hard work that you're putting into each workout and each edit. A quick little promo break here in this episode. If you're a fan of the KIPS podcast, you know that at some point there's a promotion for the Naboso Duo insoles. I just pulled these out of my shoes, gave them a quick rinse to get the sock dust off of them, and I wanted to talk about them because they're great. They're fantastic. They make an impact on your daily life. If you sit at a desk or if you're on your feet, sometimes your feet just feel achy, or maybe they feel like they went to sleep. That's for myself. But with these, I feel more active. I feel like I can do more things, and I've been using them for over a year now. With your clients, with your family, with your friends, share them, talk about them, see what they think, because they really do make a difference. If your feet feel more active, you're gonna be more active, and that equates to being more healthy. Check them out. There's a link in the description. See all the products they have, and let's get back to this episode.
Yeah. One of the things I try to do to kind of test that, if you will, is sometimes I'll mention it. Like I'll mention, hey guys, today I'm trying a new mic, blah, blah, blah. Like, and I probably try too many new things all the time, but I love tech and I love teaching. Like it's just, maybe I'll make a shirt that says tech and tea. I don't know. No, it's not a good idea, but I do mention it because I like to be transparent, and here's what I'm trying, here's what I'm doing. And then sometimes you don't, and then they still notice it anyway. But once in a while, what I'll do is if there's, again, just somebody who's listening, who's interested in YouTube, I'll do a little call to action. And this will be maybe like a third of the way through the video or something. I'll say, man, that was a crazy block of work. Hey, if you're still here, would you just comment? I'm still here. I'm still, and then you kind of gather information as far as like how long they've, and YouTube tells you, how long they've been watching, but it kind of gives you more of a understanding of how far people are into the video. Are they listening? What are they doing? And then you get it, you get that comment, I'm still here. I'm still here. And it's like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's, again, you setting me up for all these segues here. Yeah. With one of the resources that I watch a lot is from vidIQ. And vidIQ, if you're unfamiliar with what they do, they offer not only do they have a channel, but they also have a plugin that helps you with building your channel. And I watch a lot of their videos. And one of them that I've watched pretty recently was about how to increase your subscriber count, and exactly what Joe's talking about with calls to action at certain points in your video, depending upon when you're putting them in there. Their point was to putting them at the end to make sure that you give them a call to action, whether it's subscribe or whatever that might be. Because most likely, if somebody is watching for till the end of a video, that they are compelled to engage or to subscribe, whatever that might be. And so those are pieces to build into your workout, to remember that, I'm not just going to say, okay, see you later. And that's a piece that when I'm working with the new instructor, that I tell them that, okay, don't forget, you need to work on your hook, your opening sequence, all the yada, yada, your pictures, your workout, you most likely you'll knock that out of the park. But what are you going to say at the end? So they're not just lingering. What are you going to say at the end that ties it all together and gets some engagement out of it? And so I think that has been one of those pieces that I've had to work on myself, the closing out the video. Do you have any resources that have helped you kind of shape that with your workouts?
Yeah, well, definitely TubeBuddy and vidIQ. Those are two, online resources. They're plugins. They're kind of the same, just different companies that help kind of help you understand more of the analytics, give you ideas for titles, thumbnails, your tagging, all of that stuff. They're huge resources for all of that. So definitely use those same resources as well. There's a few channels that I watch pretty regularly to just understand more about not only the equipment that we use, but how we present ourselves and such. Like Think Media with Sean Cannell has great resources for both just putting YouTube videos together in general, anywhere from how to structure everything. Although they don't have a whole lot for fitness, but they do have just practical things that you can apply to your channel. And then he does a lot of reviews for equipment, and piece, microphones and cameras and things like that are super helpful, which is an ongoing process, it's always learning. I mean, YouTubers, we got to wear multiple hats. We got to know how to use a microphone, a camera, a video switcher, graphics, and we're the talent, and we're working out, and we're, publishing, the video. There's editing, there's a lot, but it's fun. Colin and Samir have a great channel where they interview YouTubers and basically their process of growth, their process of what they dig into their brains. What are we thinking about? What are you thinking about when you made this series, or when you did whatever challenge that you did? How do you retain people? I noticed that you do this, or I noticed that you say this. What is it about that? And sometimes the person they're interviewing will say, "Oh, I didn't know I did that," or the person will say, "Oh yeah, I'm super intentional when I repeat this, or I say this, or I say that." So sometimes YouTube, I'm not sure if this is answering the question, but sometimes YouTube is a combination of the little quirks, the little things that I do, people like, and I didn't know it, or I'm intentional about saying things and it's helpful, to retain and get people to come back. Nate Black is another YouTuber who I think he might have been with vidIQ before, or one of those companies, but he branched out onto his own channel, and all he does is study YouTube channel analytics. And so he will say, "Hey, I went to 100 channels that all talked about Legos. And in this, what I learned about the most popular one is they consistently do this, this, and this," right? Patrick Bet David, which he does a lot of like political things and stuff like that, but he does have a lot of just side videos that talk about being consistent for your brand, like always mentioning who you are. This is what I am. This is what I deliver. Reminding your audience, like, my name is Joe, and this is a cycling channel, and this is where we get healthy together, and this is the type of variety of rides that I deliver, and this is what you could expect. And if you're brand new, give me 20 minutes and I'll make you a believer. It's like having that speech, that spill and reminding your audience of the brand that you are, so that you're never like deceiving anybody in from the fact that I said I'm this, but it turns out that I'm that. Like, you want to say, I am this, and this is what I'm delivering, and this is what you're going to get every time from me, type of thing. So those are a few of the channels. There's also the Department by Omar Al-Takori, I think is how you say his name. He's a guy from Think Media that started his own channel maybe a year ago, has 60-some thousand subscribers. And he does something similar to Colin and Samir, where he interviews other YouTubers that know how to put together videos, know how to present themselves, know how to do seminars and conferences and all these fun. We were talking about conferences earlier. And so some of the things that I've learned from these guys are and what I've been trying to incorporate in my channel is, I'm on a bike, I'm doing a workout, but yet every YouTuber out there will say, every person trying to get us better at what we do is the story. Tell a story. You know what I mean? Tell a story. And how do you do that in the context of a workout? And how do we deliver that? And how much is too much? And what can we deliver? I don't know. I don't know how you've integrated storytelling in your workouts, or if you've thought about that, but I'm working more and more on that side of it, as far as, finding more of a retention and filling, in my channel.
Yeah, that has easily been one of the hardest parts to conceptualize. And exactly what you mentioned. At first you think about, how do I tell a story? It's a workout. And I think once you, in your head, it clicks, it starts to make more sense with your channel, your brand, and what you are trying to tell your audience. For example, I filmed a workout today, probably 3-4 hours ago. And with that one, it takes me a little bit to get going, because I've really tried to spend more time on what am I going to say in that opening sequence. I really have, that's been my bigger emphasis over the last month and a half, is practice it. Make sure it is good. The flow of it is good. And in my head, I start to picture how I'm going to edit it later on. So that's almost taking it next level in my head. Like, hey, what am I saying that is going to hopefully attract somebody in that first beginning, once they click in and it opens up and I'm there? Then how am I going to keep the graphics going and the different cuts going? And then how can I tie it in later? I mean, the one that I filmed today, it was about the mental space and staying engaged for the workout. And because, working out can be challenging for anybody. So hopefully that messaging, and then continuing that messaging throughout the workout, and then tying it at the end, that is part of the story of the workout. Your mental capacity, your mental state, and making sure that, part of my channel is, and this is part of my audience, and the theming that I've been trying to hammer home is getting the most out of your workouts. So I do 15 and 30-minute workouts. So how do you get the most of the time that you have as a busy professional? Right. And at a conference that I was at recently, I was talking about YouTube, and it's the conference that I was promoting over the last few months, Fitness Fest. And in that conference, at my session on YouTube, somebody pulled up my channel, and while I was talking, I just looked at your channel, and as a professional and someone that doesn't have much time, your workouts and how short they are, that really resonated with me. And to me, that was like, the work that I'm doing, it's paying off.
Yes, come on.
That is without even telling them, they saw, oh, wow, these are shorter workouts. That's what I want to, that's what I'm trying to do. So my tip is really try to think about, maybe it's a word, maybe it's what's something catchy that you can build off through the workout and then tie in at the end. Yeah. And so a question that popped into my head: what is your advice for that Fit Pro, that maybe a cycling instructor, HIIT instructor, whatever that might be, that they are listening to this episode and they're thinking, I don't have a pitch. I don't, where do I even start? What do you think What's some advice you can give them?
Well, I think as it relates to storytelling and advice, I think that storytelling, when we hear that, just the term storytelling, we right away we think it's a story. I've got to elaborate. A story. Even I could even say something as simple as this: hey, we're going to spend about 10 minutes warming up. It's like heating up an oven. Right. It's like getting ready to bake something. We can't put the cake in there until it's at 450. And that's a story. I mean, and it took 10 seconds to say that story. Right. And so it's not, I think, I would say don't overthink it for sure. Don't overthink it. I would also say, and these are things that I've been experimenting with, because I don't know that any of us know it all, or we got it all down. But one of the things that I've been experimenting with, is my introduction, and so there was one, and I'm not even sure if it released yet. It may have, but there's a ride that I did called Get It Done or something like that. I can't remember. And at the beginning, before I even get on my bike, I just look at the camera and I say, have you ever, got up and just not felt like working out? And I'm telling you right now, I've felt that way. I know you've had those days, but today we're going to work together and we're just going to get it done, because I know it's going to be beneficial for you. I know you're not going to regret it. So what do you say? Why don't we just get it done? And so it's really getting into the mind of the person that says, oh, I know I need to work out, but I'm not feeling it. And they click on the video and they're like, all right, I'm just going to get it done. So I would say that's another thing to experiment with, to try. I would say two other things. On a bike, it might be a little bit easier for me versus what you do, in the sense that I'll have a recovery time. And during the recovery time, I can tell a story. I could literally tell a story. I could literally say, hey, today, today's Power Zone class, we're not going to go over threshold at all. I don't want you to burn it out. It's like the time when we're all 16 and my friend had his first car. It was a piece of junk. And if we went over 55 miles an hour, it would overheat and we would have to pull over to the side of the road, and then I'd say, so we don't want to pull over to the side of the road. We're going to keep it under 55 today, so you could tell that type of story. This is something kind of new, Tyler, that I haven't done yet, that I've been thinking about. Maybe you could tell me, maybe the audience could comment below. But I'm also a pastor of a small church. And one of the things that I try to incorporate in a message is kind of five things. And that would be, what do I know about this topic, or in our case, workout? How does it relate to my audience? How do we do it? How do we apply this right to our lives? And can you imagine what we would be like if we did this all the time, right? And so I want to try to incorporate that somehow, maybe in the intro, and maybe say something like, I've always wanted to get a little bit faster. When I was a kid, speed was my thing. And I don't know about you, but have you ever wanted, maybe you could relate to this. Today, we're going to try to get faster, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Can you imagine by the end of this workout if we all just got a little bit fast, whatever it might be? That's probably a bad example, but I'm experimenting with that as well, Tyler. I don't know.
I like I feel like what people can hopefully get what we're pushing towards here is your opening sequence, that they can hopefully see the importance of it, but hopefully some examples, because your examples that you're giving, they're fantastic. And I feel like I'm like tuning in for one of your rides right now as somebody that takes your rides. That's exactly like the type of energy that you need and the type of thought process in order to get somebody to hopefully stay for that continued time. Because that is, as we talked about with the analytics for a YouTube channel, your average view duration, that is, I say this in conferences, that is typically one of the areas that us as fitness pros, that we have a leg up. That if somebody's tuning in for a workout, it's 15, 25, 30, 45, an hour long, compared to other YouTube channels where maybe they're 4, 7 minutes long. And if somebody's going to press play, they're most likely to stay that full duration, which just helps chug along at those watch hours. So in that opening sequence, what's that message that you're giving them that hopefully helps a fit pro just starting off or thinking about going to YouTube, that they're just used to just showing up for their class, plugging in their phone, pressing play on their music, and then people are just showing up. Hey, okay, come on, let's get going on this workout.
Yeah,
it's a part of. I'll say that there's a lot of planning involved
sure.
with it. That I think a piece of it that I'd love to get your insight on this is being able to let your personality come through in it. Something that you mentioned was like, it is tougher for me to, and it took me a while to be able to showcase more of my personality with my workouts, because you're counting, you're demoing, you are trying to, I just keep like a small note sheet of like what the workout is. So you're trying to see what's coming up next, all those pieces. But I know for a fact that our audience, the shared audience that we have, they like the mistakes that I make. I joke about it all the time. Like sometimes I don't even count, and I just, okay, maybe that's 10, and people laugh at it, or like somebody will laugh about, I just sometimes say the most random things, but I think that is part of my personality. If you know me in a more relaxed state, that's more of my personality. And I think that is a hard thing to do on camera, in my opinion. What do you think about that? Or how does it get over that hump?
No, that's so good, because, and let me just say something before I answer that. As it relates to just retention and things like that, that goes for live and for video. Mm-hmm. Like I could be teaching a live class and still lose my audience. Yeah. They could still be there and the energy could just flatline if I'm not delivering a product, a quality workout, a quality introduction, a quality promise, a quality, and so I just want to put that out there, man. Like it could happen both ways. And so we do talk a lot about why, because obviously on YouTube, the longer the retention, the wider net we cast, that YouTube's algorithm, if it's working right, it will send it to more people if there's more retention. And then you get, a bigger audience in turn. That's the hope, at least. But the fact remains that it can happen live and or in person. You can flatline. Agree. And so where were we going with that other question? I'm sorry. I was like,
with the personality, with getting personality. Your personality.
Yeah. Sorry. So the challenge is, and we may have talked about this before, but any new instructor, and including us, because we're coming up with new content all the time, we're in here while we're looking at that, right? Yeah. And we're trying to motivate, entertain, demo while we're thinking about cameras, mics, workout, all of the above, right? And it's really like, how does that all come together? And I love what you said about the mistakes here and there, because it doesn't always come together. Like there is I use a lot of buttons on mine, and sometimes I push a button, I'm like, go, and I close my eyes and I open them up. And I'm like, oh shoot, that button didn't even trigger, or it still says warm up and I'm on like the first round, I'm like, oh shoot, we're not in the warm up, this, and I like, and I agree 1,000% that your audience, they probably see it. They're probably laughing, that he still got his whatever up there, and he has his heart rate display and he's not even doing a heart rate based class or whatever. And you're just real with everybody. Right. Mm-hmm. But it is being okay, making those mistakes, having fun with your audience, just pushing through, not stopping the recording to start all over again because one button was triggered there or didn't trigger or didn't play or you lost count or whatever. It's really, we do that in person too. It's not the biggest deal in the world. And I would say for anybody who's trying or wants to get into this, just go for it. Go for it. It's no different than when you're teaching a live class and something goes a little left. But I would say this. I would say try to develop things that help you be more natural. Meaning that because just speaking of you and I and any fit pro who's doing this, Tyler, if we're doing new workouts weekly, I don't have time to digest all of that, to deliver it as fluid as I would if I was doing that same workout like 4 or 5 times the same week, right? And you know, and I know if we did a brand new workout on Monday and we were doing that same workout, the Friday version is going to come out way better than the Monday version. You know what I mean? Because we just digested it a little bit. We tweaked it a little bit, you know, all of that stuff. And so I would say one of the things that I try to do is I have my notes in front of me. So I know what's happening, and my notes are detailed, man. I don't know if you want, can I show the camera? Is that all right? Can I show? And then don't let me forget to share another resource that I really think is super valuable. But just talking about like how we maintain personality, how we stay focused, how we deliver a product, how we keep it fresh all the time. Like there's a lot, man. There's a lot that we do that goes into this. But I want to show your audience this and anybody who's watching kind of what helps me. And let me see if I think my camera will pick this up. But I use a Stream Deck right here, and let me make sure there we go.
Wow.
So I use a Stream Deck. Let me make sure I'm in the mic. I'm covering my face. And all the buttons right here, right on this side are countdown timers. They're different information on the screen. And then on this side over here are all my notes, right? So let me just put that up real close for a second. And so what I do is I try to get enough notes ahead of me to where I even know where the drops of the music are for the second so that I could be more natural on the camera. So what that means for me is like, I'm playing music. I want to stay to the rhythm of the music. I want to take advantage of the drop in the music or the chorus, but I don't want to have to be thinking about it the whole time. I want to interact with my audience. So if I know I'm warming up, and I know that the first drop doesn't come in until 1 minute and 31 seconds into the first song, I've got some time to have some fun on the camera, right? And I've got some time to explain some things. So these are little tactics that hopefully is helpful for other people. And again, you got to find your own way. It's a little easier for me. I'm not jumping around and doing push-ups like you. I'm just in one spot. So this is for me, but you have to find what works for you.
Yeah.
And so anyway, doing some of this upfront work allows me to in turn be more vulnerable in front of the camera, to be more playful, if you will. And then I would also say this, I started going live a couple months ago, and live, believe it or not, whoever's listening to this, believe it or not, is way more forgiving than recording. And here's what I mean by that. If I'm live and my dog runs past me and I got to pick him up, people are just going to laugh at that because they know I'm live, right? But you don't want like all these things falling off the wall and this when you're recording, because then it gets a little like, wait a minute, you know, like that gets a little weird. But when you're live, I could literally say, oh, hey guys, before we get started, I'm gonna grab my dog real quick because I don't know if you've met Aspen, you know, and go get Aspen, and everybody's just having a good time. Because it's live, and it's so forgiving. If you say the wrong thing or you mess up, it's live. Nobody cares. Like it's more forgiving, in my opinion. I could be wrong. In my opinion, going live is more freeing and more forgiving than trying to do something so polished recorded. That's just my thought. That's what I'm learning a couple months into this.
I can say that. I can 100% see that. I could see that things are, you can just play those off a little bit more. And I like what you said though about, and I think we actually talked about this in the episode with Michelle Breeler about, I like what you said, that being okay with it. If you do make a mistake, because I think Michelle said like, because we can go back and we can edit that out. We could edit it out. We could cut it out. We could, you said, just stop the recording and record it and start over. Right. But being okay with it, I think, is part of the challenge. That I think a lot of us, we want to be perfect. We want to, and I get it. We want to be perfect. And I get that side of it. And I get that that's the personality of somebody that might be listening. I also, on the counter side of it, think that the being able to be okay with it and show how you deal with it is the bigger piece of it. Are you able to I messed that up. And, being able to explain it and being able to just let it roll off and not affect you for the rest of the workout. I think those are bigger pieces because you learn from it. You learn from it and you make a joke about it and you let it just potentially improve the quality of the rest of the workout because you're laughing about it. It's in your head like, what did I do that? And like now, like when I mess up, I joke about it all the time. I'll say that I don't know what's in my head. Like, I don't even know why I made that comment.
Yeah.
I was doing a hamstring like stretch and like I was reaching my hands like on the back of my legs and I said like keg stand instead of kickstand. And I was like, why did I say keg stand? Like,
I took that one, man. I remember that one.
I have no idea why I even said that. And it's people find that funny but it's again, being okay with it and not walking behind the camera to go, stop the recording and restart it. So I like that piece of it, the being okay with it.
And don't hear us wrong because precision is inspiring. When you can teach a class, still breathe, cue, deliver a quality product, that's inspiring, but I think what we're saying here is somebody would rather follow, and I probably have said this before too, would rather follow somebody who is real than somebody who's always right, And so it's a lot of fun. I hope people who are listening to this who are aspiring YouTubers, if you will just be okay with that. Can I share another resource? Jason Cohen, Kaylee's husband, we're part of a group that we interact and we little chat group and we get together on Zoom every once in a while and help each other out. He recommended a book recently that I just love. And I feel like I've always known, but never, have you ever known something, man? And you just think this has got to be true. And then somebody wrote a book about it and you're like, I knew it all along. Right. But anyway, there's this book right here that he recommended. It's called Still Like an Artist. I don't know if you've read it or not, or there's also, one of those TED Talks on it. It's like 10 minutes, and if you look that up, it's Austin Kleon is the artist. But really, what it is, it's a whole book about how there's really not a whole lot of things that are original. Everybody gets inspired by something else. Yeah. Everybody gets an idea by someone or something else. Somebody sparks a new, fresh season of whatever that might be because they saw something, read something, experienced something, looked at something, had the conversation, whatever it was. And he talks all about how there are famous people throughout history who have who would openly admit that I stole that idea. Like I stole that idea, that painting, you know what? That was inspired by the Mona Lisa or the art gallery that I went to. And I, for years, I would tell people, and I hope this frees some people up to just do things. For years, I would tell people, because they would say, man, you're always so innovative and you like to add flair to this and you like to add, I'm like, I got that from so-and-so, or I like this because I saw this and I saw that. And what I've always done is I've always taken inspiration from other creators and found a way to do it the way I like it to look.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm stealing the idea, but making it my own.
Yeah.
Right. And it's funny because even in this book, he says, you're not even original. You're a piece of your mom and dad. Like, it's hilarious. And so I just think that, like he says here, the genealogy of ideas, he says every new idea is just a mashup or a remix of one or more previous ideas. Yeah. Here's a trick. To teach that you are an art school, draw two parallel lines on a piece of paper. How many lines are there? And then he says there's the first line, the second line, but then there's a line of negative space that runs in between them, right? And he's basically saying like somebody wrote two lines one time, drew two lines, and somebody else came along and said, no, there's a third line, it's in between. But it took you know what I mean? Like it's just, we get inspired. And we still, if he just calls it still, we'll call it whatever you want, call it inspiration, call it borrowing, call it whatever, stealing. But just take the ideas, that resonate with you, that inspire you, make them your own, figure out a way that idea works with your integration of how you're delivering your product, and use it.
Yeah.
And be okay with it. Be okay with it. And then give credit where credit's due, if necessary. And I don't think I have to give credit for a countdown clock, because it's just a countdown clock, but I got it from Church Motion Graphics. You know what I mean? Like that's where that came from. So anyway,
I like that. And I think that's a good way to get us to the latter part of this episode here, especially talking about inspiration and resources. I know that, and also I could say the two resources that I watched for it, it was Michelle Breeler, who I've mentioned, Kaylee Cohen, her strength channel. When I was looking at different opening sequences, and this was all part of what I've been talking about this episode with my opening sequence. What am I saying in that beginning sequence, and trying to get inspiration? And I noticed both of those channels, they shared clips from the workout that to kind of give people an idea what's coming up. I took that idea and I went and made it my own, and I put my own editing flair on it. How I open up, if anybody goes and watches with the beginning of any of my more recent workouts, whether it's a Tabata, a HIIT cardio, dumbbell, whatever it is, they'll see there's a lot of shorter cuts. There's a sequence where there's clips coming in at the beginning, and there's all inspiration from watching other channels. I didn't copy exactly how they did it. I made my own spin on it, but that is part of the process of YouTube. Go watch what other people are doing. There's nothing wrong. How are you supposed to learn if you don't go see what other people are doing? You have to go out there, spend the time to watch it constructively, find feedback, not compare yourself. I think that's one of the big pieces there is not compare, not think, oh, well, they look so good when they're doing it. I don't look. Just what are they doing, and get inspiration from it to motivate you to go take those steps with your own workouts. So I think that I like that you brought that piece into this, because I know I told you right there, my two inspirations that I watched for my own editing sequence there, and I made it my own. So really,
one of the things that and I'm sorry to cut you off. One of the things that I'm going to be adding, you'll see it soon on my channel, that is exactly what you're saying. Inspired. I do a lot of power zone based classes in my channel, and a lot of heart rate based zone classes, but power zone in particular there's 7 zones of power, and you got to hold that output for, however many minutes that we have for the workout. Mm-hmm. And I've always wanted to find a way to do what your version of the timeline, how much time we have left in class is what you recently added, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have that, and then you have a little preview if I'm understanding it correctly, of what the next exercise is, right? Mm-hmm. Which I love that. Well, I've been trying to figure out a better way to do that on my channel. And recently I've been fortunate enough to partner with Intelligent Cycling, and they're a product out there for indoor cycling instructors and for studios that is a software that will show the timeline at the top of my channel now of what is going to happen in that class. So it's no longer me just cueing minute by minute, song by song. You've got a timeline at the top that's going to show you what power zones are coming up, what colors, and how long you're going to be in them for, what's coming up next. I mean, it's going to take it to the next level, man. I can't wait. And I think I sent you a little clip, right? Did I send you?
I didn't want to spoil it for you, but I have seen it.
Yeah. You got the inside scoop, man. Yeah. But I want to put it out there, because that's something that I'm super stoked about, man. I'm like so pumped about that. It's gonna be fun.
It will be, yeah. So let's wrap this up. I knew it. I knew that we would just keep going on this episode. And I know that hopefully anybody listening that's in that space that's thinking, oh man, I just don't know where to go. What are some insider tips? I know that there's some information in here that can help you take that step, evolve, and hopefully just keep pushing, because it's a fun mindset to be in, this YouTube space, that you're in this element, that you're thinking creatively and you're trying to grow and learn new skills. Our podcast takeaway question for today, Joe, what are 3 myths about teaching on YouTube?
3 myths. One is, I think we kind of hit them all, but one myth is that I'm afraid of how am I going to look on camera? You know, I'm going to look a certain way, or the lighting, you know, how's that going to work? And just, it is a myth. It's something that you're going to look fine. You're going to look like you look in real life. You're going to look great. You're going to be amazing. Right. Another myth is that I won't make any change, you know, maybe I'll be doing this for nothing. And honestly, like you give it enough time and you're going to see that, you're going to reach people that you never thought you would reach from even outside of the country. Like in other places of the world, somebody's going to pop up from England or the UK or Brazil and say, hey, I was just watching from Switzerland and I just needed this today. And you're going to be like, what? Like I reached somebody way out there. And I guess maybe the third one, and in no particular order, any of these is I don't have the right equipment. That could be another one. Man, any iPhone, any Android phone, honestly, you could buy a real inexpensive microphone that plugs right into the side of it, hit record, go for it. You know, you have everything you need. You have everything you need.
Oh yeah. And that'll be the one that I'll just round this out with. One of the videos from vidIQ to bring them back into the conversation. Well, they interviewed a YouTuber with hundreds, if not millions of subscribers. And he talked about how you can grow a channel with not the best equipment, as long as the content is there. And we know that we have great content. We're great instructors. And sometimes we just need to get it out there. And and YouTube is one of those platforms that helps you get it out there. So worrying too much about equipment and what you have, not there. Think about your content, keep hammering that home. And I think you got a lot of great ideas if you're listening from this episode to hook your audience members, to keep them engaged, to get them to subscribe, all those kinds of things. I know that we provided that information in this episode. Well, before we sign off here, Joe, can you remind our audience your social media and your YouTube channel?
Yeah, YouTube is Joe Alvarado Indoor Cycling. I also have a podcast on the same channel where I interview indoor cycling instructors. I've been releasing one a week. And so I have about 7 or 8 episodes. Go check it out. If you want to know what happens in the mind of an indoor cycling instructor, how we put things together, how we love music, and even a ton of stories that every episode has had where there's been some kind of life change, you know, in the context of us delivering a class. So you can find me there. You can find me on Instagram at Joe Alvarado. And all my links, there's a link tree on both of those. And the link tree will lead you to the store, to the podcast, to the Instagram, to Facebook, to even TikTok, all of the stuff that I'm on. So.
Oh yeah. And there will be a link in the description, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And as always, Joe, thank you for coming on again. I think this is your 3rd time and the time just flies. The content is always there. The conversation is always there. So as always, I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Pleasure.